everybody, and welcome back to the Shed of Dread. It is I, the Gobster, and let's get into it. So, hopefully, you've watched the video when I was discussing about Russell Brand and all the jiggery-pokery there. And you may have noticed, or if you did notice, that I mentioned the Online Safety Act, an act of betrayal. This is from the UK column, and I'm going to go through. This was done back in the 7th of December 2021 by Ian Davis. Now, this has got through all the required things it needs to do and is about to become law. So I'm going to just quickly skimp over this and show why you should be really concerned about this. Right then, the Online Safety Bill, the OSB, has been presented to the public as an attempt to protect children from online grooming and abuse and to limit the reach of terrorist propaganda. This, however, does not seem its primary focus. The real objective of the proposed Online Safety Act, remember, this was written in December 2021. It's now past its final stage. It is going to be voted in as law, so you need to listen. Appears to be a narrative control. In order to understand where the legislation is heading, first we need to interpret it. Even the seasoned legal experts have struggled to get to grips with it. And that's on purpose, remember, ladies and gentlemen. For reasonable, voluminous piece of legislation, the bill alone runs for 134 pages. Jesus Christ. It's almost completely devoid of any relevant definitions. That's the bit you need to be worried about. It doesn't actually define what they're looking for. So they can just decide what it is. The proposed act, as it stands in the bill form, is an abstract jumble of ill-defined and seemingly meaningless terms requiring practical, limitless legal interpretation before anyone can even consider what it means. Although a breakdown of this mess has been attempted by Cyber Legal. And this is what they've come up with. The draft Online Safety Bill, no longer a draft, it's through, is nothing if abstract. It resolutely eschews specifics. The detailing of the draft bill's preliminary design is to be executed in due course by secondary legislation with Ofcom, broadcasting regulated guidance of codes and practice. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me. So in other words, Ofcom, you know, that beacon of impartiality, will now be deciding what is and what isn't acceptable online content. Worried yet? You should be. In other words, the OB is full of references to legal concepts and terms which no one can decipher, including the members of Parliament who will vote on it. When it becomes law, because it's almost there, it will be then adapted through secondary legislation and Ofcom regulation as yet unwritten. So they're going to pass a law that no one understands, no one really gets, and then give it to Ofcom to write the rules for. Still biting your fingernails? Because it gets worse. Unless stopped, which is not going to be unless we start doing it now, and it needs to be done now because it's going to go to law, so you need to write to your MPs and tell them you don't want it. MPs will be creating a law that has no defined parameters. This will allow the government to insert whatever objectives they wish after it is enacted, as they've done with the Coronavirus Act. Remember how that screwed everybody over, yeah? Still not worried? Should be. The use of secondary legislation is effective means to the OSA will greatly reduce parliamentary scrutiny. So in other words, they can add rules, they can add laws, they can do whatever they want, decide what they're going to do, and there's nothing that can happen and nothing that could be done because even the Parliament won't be able to get involved. Still think it's a good idea? The MPs can reject secondary legislation, but they can't amend it. Therefore, the scope of the OSB can be continually amended and subsequently resubmitted until the government gets what it wants. And guess what they want? Us to shut up. This complete betrayal of the democracy of people imagine they live in. We have never lived in an we don't live in a democracy. We haven't done for years. And the worst thing is, just like with the Coronavirus Act and that, it's done to the applause of the idiots who think it's a great thing. Because they don't want to stand up for themselves. They want to be told what to do, what to think, where to go, what to eat, what to say. But there are a lot of us who don't want to do that. And this will give the government ultimate power to silence that. It is difficult to envisage how the opacity of the OSB is anything other than deliberate. it suggests a plan to hide legalisation from scrutiny before it's made law. This raises the suspicion that the government knew that openly stating their full intentions of what will presumably become the OSA would elicit stiff opposition from Parliament and the public. It appears that the government has consequently attempted to obscure that intent. However, we can still discern the government's objective if we consider both the content of the OSB, the arguments presented in support of it, and the aims of those making them. When we do, it is revealed that so deeply undemocratic that it leads to further credence to the view that this is lesser legislation has been misrepresented to Parliament. They are voting on stuff they do not understand, and they're going to pass it because they want to. The OSB expansion notes the government states the online safety bill establishes a new regulatory regime to address illegal and harmful content online with the aim of preventing harm to individuals. We are immediately faced with two separate undefined concepts: illegal content and harmful content. While illegal content is also harmful content is not necessarily illegal. Jesus Christ. And is supposedly distinct from it. However, we should note that, for the purposes of the proposed act, the aim with regarding to sanction both illegal and harmful content appears to be one and the same: preventing harm to individuals. This will be crucial later on, bear in mind as we progress. Don't even know how long this is. Wow, this is long. I'm now going to just sort of skip through it. So basically what you got is, I'll go for these little lines, the quotes. So, we then get to claim justification of the Unlimited Online Safety Act. The prevalence of most serious illegal content and activity online is unacceptable and threatens the United Kingdom's national security and the physical safety of children. The government claims that under the proposed act it will be illegal content and activity that becomes unacceptable. This clarifies a further government statement that the regulator will have powers in relation to terrorism content, child exploitation and abuse. That's fair enough. But I don't think anyone would have any issues with that particular thing. That would be a good thing, would it not? Except, of course, it depends on your definition of terrorism. This then suggests itself as content government considers illegal is indeed undoubtable, but in regard of harmful content, the government states the bill also imposes duties on such providers in relation to protect users' rights of freedom of expression and privacy. Really, does it? Provides providers of user-to-user services which meet specify thresholds, category 1 services are subject to additional duties in relation to the content that is harmful to adults. In addition, illegal content, the government claims the major social media platforms will also have, at this stage, unspecified duties in relation to the content that is deemed harmful to adults. The government claims it also protect the freedom of expression, including free speech. As we shall see, this is self-contradictory to claim the government that duties will be imposed by the legislation will obliterate online freedom of speech and expression. Exactly. So let's go now. Secretary of State is able, under particular regulation powers on the face of it, not limited or physical or psychological harm, to designate harassing content, whether or not illegal, as priority content harmful to adults. Content is non-priority content harmful to adults if its nature is such that there are material risks of the content having or indirectly having specific adverse psychological, physical or psychological impact on an adult's ordinary sensibilities. Basically, before we go any further, I'm not going to read any more. This is basically saying this is the if you don't believe that the jab is a good thing, we can shut you down. It's just this whole bill. I mean, as I said, if you go on to UK column, it's the link is up here at the top. There you go. UK column article on online safety. Go on to them. You can read the rest of this. But basically what it's saying is why you should be scared, because it doesn't actually say what they can do. I mean, they are giving it all to Ofcom. And we all know how shit Ofcom are. What they want to do is get rid of freedom of speech. I mean, it's a long article. As you can see, it's all the way down. Ian Davis, well done for writing that. And this is absolutely the truth. The Online Safety Act exemplifies what they fought against and died to protect us from. It is an act of betrayal. And I will full-heartedly do this one. It is imperative that everyone who either watches this video or reads this contact their MP and politely but firmly demand that they vote against this dictatorial legislation. This kind of bill makes a mockery of lives lost that we have just remembered with such reverence, obviously just after Remembrance Day. This is what our forefathers fought for all over the world in all these times, for our freedoms. And now they can be taken away by a bill which actually sort of says, well, you're allowed to have freedom of expression and freedom of speech as long as you say what we think's a good idea. Anything else, forget it. It's just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I've just noticed this bit. I'm going to bring it back up. All powers of the bill allegedly designed to tackle illegal content are equally applicable to content which does not cross the criminal threshold. The determination of the potential harms caused will also consider whether the offending content threatens the United Kingdom's national security. Our ability to question the consensus on climate change, asking questions about vaccine safety and efficacy, or questioning government's fiscal policy are all to be scrutinised by the state and its industry partners, and if they do not like the look of it, they will take it down. Let's just go back over that one more time before I bring this video to a close. Our ability to question the consensus on climate change, asking questions about vaccine safety and efficacy, I've got it there in the end, or question government fiscal policy are all to be scrutinised by the state and its industry partners. Remember the old Russell Brand, 3 pillars to our society: corporations, government, media. This is the government and corporations, and the media will back them up. If they don't like the look of it, they will take it down and they will come for you. It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you should be worried about the online safety bill. But of course, the vast majority of people either don't notice or have been too distracted with all this other crap that's been thrown at us, so we're not paying attention. Every single day, our freedoms are eroded. Don't live in a democracy. It's only get worse unless people stand up and say something. Contact your MP now. Send them an email, send them a letter, do whatever you need to do to let them say, we do not want this. There's not much time. It's going to be voted on to go into law, and they will pass it because it is in their favour to do so. And then people like me and other people who have channels which we do like to ask questions about stuff will be gone. And then who are you going to listen to? The media? Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. If you do subscribe, hit the bell, select it to all so you know I've done another video. The old social medias are up above. You have one thing left to do, and that is get out of my shed.